About 5 months ago, a brand here in Ghana called Tendo hired my team to design and produce about 15 massive billboards across the city of Accra. And normally, work like this is pretty much a big gamble. And here's why. You start by throwing together a really simple mood board. You put together some reference images that can sell the idea of what you're trying to create to the client. And then you pray that they can visualize the details just as much as you can when you look at this mood board. Then you go ahead to blow thousands on a full photo shoot. You hire models, you look for locations, crew, only to show the final result at the very end when the budget is already gone to the client. All it takes is one "I don't like it" from the client and boom, expensive reshoots, delays, stress, everybody's miserable. So this time, I do things a little differently because honestly, I was done with all that anxiety. I flipped the entire process upside down using AI as my creative co-pilot. How? I showed the client high-fidelity mockups before I even touched the camera. Took out all the guesswork, all the blind trust that clients usually have in us. Just crystal clear vision from day one and faster client approval too. And the results, production became faster and effortless. We saved fortunes and the billboards turned out much better than they actually could have because we had the freedom to explore and experiment. The best part of it though was we ended the project and I still had so much energy left. Typically, that's never the case when you're on such big gambles on big projects. So in this video, I'm breaking down exactly how I did it in this real-world case study so you can impress your clients too. Let's start. Let's be real for a second, like a little hot second, right? If you've ever pitched to a client or worked on a big outdoor campaign, you know the pain. The pain is, it's not fun. And if you don't, let me break it down for you so you can understand exactly what we go through and the type of life that we've lived as designers or people who work in or out of agencies. This is how it usually starts. So the first step is usually a strategy session. And this step is super crucial, whether you're using AI or not. Why? Because this is where you and the client lock in the target market, you lock in who you are actually talking to and what the core message of the entire campaign is going to be. You cannot skip this. Now, once you do that, it allows you to lock in the exact emotion you want your audience to feel when they glance at a 20-foot billboard driving 60 miles per hour. At this point, you also agree on the headline copy, the key visual direction, and the brand tone. All of this is done at that stage. And boy, if you do not nail this, everything downstream is built on sand. Everything. If you miss it here, you are basically designing blind. And it's gonna be really hard to achieve success on your campaign, no matter how good the results actually look, because the message is what's important. Now, the next thing, we jump into something I call the Moodboard roulette, right? Because you spend days curating about 10 to 20 image references that can at least sell the idea to the client. You gather some cool visual shots, some color palettes, the vibes, and then you pray that both you and the client see the same vision. Spoiler, they usually don't see the same vision as you, right? Because sometimes you're shown an image of a happy person and they are thinking hysterical. Sometimes you're shown an image of a sad person and they're thinking death. Now, usually this is the point that misalignment starts and the rest is history. Now next, you quote the shoot based on that shaky mood board. That shaky mood board, right? You're talking about $5,000 to $20,000 and sometimes even bigger if the campaign is larger, where you're going to need lots of permits, models, crews, location fees, weather backups for generators, especially if you're in Ghana like I am and stuff like that. Oh God, like it goes endless. And all of this is gambled on the images that are interpretive at best, right? And then the client signs off thinking, yeah, this is going to be the one. This is going to be the one that finally makes my product shine. But there's a problem. They are imagining something totally different from what you've shown them because of that one misalignment, right? Now fast forward, the shoot day starts, the dreaded shoot day, right? Mixed feelings, you're happy and sad at the same time. And based on that mood board, you find out that the translation in real life is very different. Sometimes the lighting's off, the models don't quite match the vibe you're looking for, the location looks smaller in person, and the outfits, well, you looked at them on the screen, but now they kind of clash under actual sunlight, right? And everything goes crazy. and you start improvising the whole time, hoping it works. And then after the shoot, you come back to the studio, you put everything together and you deliver it to the client. Finally. And then one classic email hits when the client says, can we make it brighter? Can we change the angle? Can we add a dog? Can we make the product pop? I mean, you know how this feels like. And at this point, don't forget, the budget is gone. The crew has been disbanded. Models have been rebooked elsewhere. So trying to create reshoots now costs 3 times extra, 4 times extra, and the stress is triple out the roof. Now deadlines slip, your client starts to look like the devil in your inbox. We've all been there, and this is how clients service provider relationship begins to strain, because you're exhausted and your creativity is tanked because you're trying to hit a bullseye while blind. That was the old world. That's the world we are leaving behind, and that's the world I've lived in for a couple of years now. So this project in 2025, well, we are 2026 if you're watching this, but this is a case study from 2025. So bear with me. I told myself I was not going to live in that world ever again and use AI to change that reality. So finally, let's hop into this real world case study using the Tendo project now that you understand the traditional mess we're leaving behind from the old method. This is the new method using AI. Like I said in the beginning, we reversed the entire process, right? But one thing that I did not touch is the strategy session. Like I said earlier, this is exactly where you always want to start, with or without AI. So with this project, here we dug deep, right? Very deep to understand what Tendo was truly trying to achieve. They had a new product or perhaps a new service that helped market women restock wholesale without leaving their shops, which is a really big deal, like especially if you're in Ghana. And then also market their already existing product, which was a product that helps young entrepreneurs start selling online with zero capital. You can think of it as drop shipping, but not exactly the same. It's a little bit different. From a quick user overview and some messaging strategies, we realized that one blanket campaign wouldn't really solve the problem. And here's why. Because when we did some market research, we realized that many market women discover and learn about apps through their tech-savvy kids. That was one of the key insights we made. So we made the decision to target not only these market women, but also target their kids. And this is a huge shout out to Idrisu, who was the lead strategist for this particular insight. And it was rather interesting. So that was one part of the app that would cater to the wholesale part of the business. Now, the second part of the app was the second group, which was for both young and early adults who were go-getters. And the insight here was that they wanted instant entrepreneurship without the inventory hassle and shipping. So we came up with 2 separate concepts, one to target each group. Now the first concept was called warehouse in your pocket, or as we will say in Ghana, warehouse for your pocket, right? This was about empowering African market women to embrace the digital convenience. In our minds, Tendo was equal to wholesale stocking and restocking solution, and simultaneously inspiring their children to become trusted guides, helping their mothers transition to the digital market space. So that was the concept for the very first billboard that targeted the market group. Now here we decided to make 3 billboards that would target the market women directly, and 2 billboards that would target their children, aka the influencers or the guides. That was the first concept for the first 5 billboards. Now the next 10, which was already the existing business model of Tendo, we decided to go with a name for the campaign, Tap Tap Cash. The main idea was Tendo makes entrepreneurship instant and accessible, right? With just a few taps, you sell online, you bypass inventory, logistic hassles, and all of a sudden, you're making money. So here we made 10 billboards, each targeting unique user segments with simple, punchy app messages. And from this point, we logged in the exact messaging for each of the 15 billboards. Now, this is my new favorite stage, because gone are the days where I'm going to work on creating 10 to 20 mood boards, send it to the client, hoping they see the vision. Now, this is where I put AI into the mix to change everything. And to be fair, when I started this, I was wondering if I was going to be able to achieve the goal or not. And to be honest, I had a little fear. The fear was really from the idea that if you've been looking at AI images, right, you know exactly how AI makes things look very polished. They're like too polished, if you ask me. And what if showing these images to the client would raise their expectations so high that something that real photography wouldn't be able to achieve and will put me in trouble at the end of the day? But then I quickly reminded myself that, I mean, I'm a professional for a reason, right? And AI can't really touch the human touch, if you ask me. There's this thing of authenticity, the cultural nuance, because sometimes even little mistakes on set end up becoming something beautiful that makes the project feel like actually planned out and elaborately, you get what I'm saying. It was crazy that I was thinking that way. In hindsight, I do not think that way at all. But in the moment when I thought about this process, that was one of my first things. Will I be able to achieve this particular look that AI is going to show their clients firsthand, right? So I moved on. And from there, we jumped straight into this high-fidelity prototypes where I went into Midjourney, and this was like early 2025, right? So the images weren't as realistic. So we started up generating really strong visuals, right? I wish Nano Banana was invented at this point in time because I wonder how the process would have been. I've not gone back to it since Nano Banana came out, but at that time, I used Midjourney to generate 4 to 8 variations per concept, right? I tried as much as possible to get the exact lighting that I wanted, the diversity in the models I was looking for, even the outfits and the colors on set, product placement, like everything. And I also made sure that they were within achievable limitations, right? Especially based on the equipment I have and access to location. And then we staged the entire scene for all the 15 billboards in the image generation process. Like everything was done to the point. And here the goal wasn't really to get 100% realistic images, right? Because we knew we were going to Photoshop some things anyway. So getting perfection there was not so important to me, right? I aimed for something close enough to guide the production, something that was aspirational, but also very achievable. And the point is achievable. Don't go creating mockups of something you have no skill to actually provide. Then we hopped into Photoshop and designed the rest of the elements. We matched the brand colors and we made other assets. We added the approved brand copies from the strategy stage, and then we shipped all 15 billboards to the client for review. At this point, the client is essentially reviewing the final work with the photography, with the graphic design, even in mockups. Everything is done, right? And at this point, this is where you have all the feedback loops. So the client goes back, brought back the first round of feedback, brought back the second round of feedback, and then we got the final direction logged in. We agreed on photography, we agreed on direction, the way the model looks, location, outfit, everything. And all this happened even before a single camera left our bag. And at this point, I literally have almost 100% of the client's buy-in, and we are 100% confident with the final product. We're just yet to bring it to life. It's like seeing the future, but then in real time. So after we're done with the first stage of the high-fidelity mockups, we put everything on a data sheet. Now, a data sheet is something that puts together everything you would need to make the actual production a breeze, including the mockups, the models you've selected, the props, and location. So in this case, for the very first billboard, we have the mockup right at the top with the copy and everything that we needed. The billboard one that has a brief that says excited mother and daughter with phones. Now the location, these are the markets we saw during our scouts, and these are the props we need. We did the same for all the 15 billboards. The very first 5, which was for the market woman, and the other ones, which was for the Tap Tap Cash campaign. I'm gonna go through these so you have a look at what each page did look like. Now, this is something that I did that I just noticed today, right? I think at some point in the process, I stopped using really photorealistic images and I moved to animations, because at the time, I think Midjourney was not really good at creating the level of realism and authenticity I wanted in Ghanaians. Whenever I wanted to get something that looked black or African, it was giving me a bunch of very weird looking stuff. So I resorted to using cartoons or illustrations instead, because that was much better than realistic ones. So this is an example for all the ones that we did. We had vertical billboards, we had horizontal billboards, and then again, the billboard, the models, location, and props, and we had everything. All these images you're seeing right now, it's AI. So at this point, This then goes to the model agencies and to the client. And the model agencies will look at the faces and then they'll select people for us that look and match the vibe that we're going for. Now from here, the model agencies will send us images of models that could match. We put it back into the data set and send it to the client so they can see. And that looks something like this. So this is the same document, except this time we've identified who the models are. In this case, the exact same document, but you see that where the models are, we have pictures of the two models who are going to play that role. The same for the second billboard, the same for the third billboard. And you can see exactly how this woman looks so much like the AI version that we sent to the model agency. The model agency here was Radiance. They are the company that I work with here in Ghana. Every time I need to sort out professional models for my productions, they are super great. You guys should check them out. So in this particular process, this is super easy because the model agency now has something to work with. It's easy for them to look at the images and say, I know somebody who can fit this role. And then they do the scouting whilst we do the sleeping. And yes, we went through the entire thing. Of course, some models did play multiple roles, but you can see how we're able to sort of get people to match all of the vibe. And even the outfit on the final day was very close to what we have. So these are the models that we used for the day and the projects and everything that we did. Now notice, at this point, the billboard designs are pretty much done. We're just waiting to swap out the models with the real people, right? Again, and this is everything. So like we're done with that for now. At this point, we head out to production to actually produce the work. Now the next stage was the real world matching. At this point, we are looking at the models and locations and everything else in between. And with the finals already approved with AI, we just started hunting for reality that matched that particular vision. And it was really easy. We contacted the model agency to find the right people who look like these AI face generations. We also look for similar vibe and similar features. We're just trying to get a Ghanaian authenticity at this point. We sent out scouts to go look out for locations who drove around the city, looking for the perfect location that will match these spots that we spoke about, from background angles to lighting to even architecture and all of that. And all of this really sped up the permit situation because we're able to spot the places that we wanted even before production began. Without AI, this scouting would have taken days and cost way more because there's going to be a lot of trial and error. But in this case, everything is aligned to those high fidelity mockups and there was very little surprises. And in 2 days, we were able to shoot 15 billboards. And why did we do it so quickly? Because there was really no experimentations. The models nailed the poses. We had already prototyped. The lighting matched the mockups that we had created. Everything in this particular moment was just us recreating. And we also knew from day one that we're going to finish and stuff in Photoshop. So we didn't chase perfection on set. Shots were retouches and not rebuilds from scratch, right? And this gave me two advantages. One, I had a minimal crew, which also meant minimal management, which also meant low overhead costs, which also meant less stress. The budget got slashed big time. I think the shoot cost dropped about 60 to 80% because we didn't need really endless options or backups. Like all of this because we knew the end from the beginning. You know, some people might have some questions about why I chose to not just make the whole billboard AI generated. And I think I have my own personal reasons. I'm still trying to get my thoughts through. But one of the biggest on the list is when you're working for billboard campaigns, you're looking for really high quality, high megapixel product because they're going to be printed. In this case, I used my Sony a7 IV, which is a 33 megapixel camera and was more than enough. And whenever I come back to zoom in and look at the final details, I know I made the right choice because even at 300, 400% blow-ups, the images look really great, they look really sharp. And this is something that is really hard to achieve with AI, especially if you're trying to upscale and upscale So the file sizes might get bigger, the dimensions might get better, but the clarity becomes very lacking. And of course, to be very honest, I feel like this is a limitation that will soon disappear because of how good AI is becoming. But for this project, getting real people was very important for me. Also making sure that I was able to capture it in very high resolutions was also very important for me. So for this image, I gave them 2 options, and to change the outfits, it was pretty simple. I just used a hue and saturation adjustment layer to sort of just switch the colors. And here I'm just playing on simple understanding of the color theory and how they work like that. So I gave the client these 2 options so they could choose from them. And these are all the vertical billboards. And here are the horizontal ones. And you can tell this is just one image. Like, it will just swap and go. Let me show you this. So this is the final image we had, and this is the original version we created with the AI. And it's rather interesting for me to look at it this way, because with the process I'm talking about, we send the client this AI version, and when we're done with the actual photograph, I just sort of place it in and we're done. That's how simple the process was, because we went the other way. Instead of just showing mood boards that sort of depicted what we wanted to create, we created the exact thing we wanted and swapped it out in post. So final project, hold on. Where'd it go? Got it. Final before. I mean, it wasn't the exact same thing, right? But it gave us close enough to guide the production. And they were very happy with the final results. I mean, how everything here came together was very funny. How we sourced all these individual props from friends and other photographer friends who were part of the project. It was pretty interesting. Here, I just changed the color to orange. You know, now that I think about it, I think the original color was actually orange, and then I changed it to dark purple to violent gradient that I made here. But I think this was actually orange to begin with. Now, this is what the final image looks like. I'm going to share all these images so you can have time to look at it. I wish I could share the project files as well, but this is a real client project and I don't have the permission of my client to actually share their work. At least they gave me the permission to use the project as a case study so others can learn from it. You guys can thank Tendo by downloading your app, especially if you're in Ghana. If you want to make a living, start entrepreneurship with zero inventory hassle and logistic hassle. Just pick the product, add your profit, Tendo sells, supplies to the client, and you get paid. Super simple. The same example with this one as well. Change the outfit, change the color of the seat, change the color of the background, just to get different color blocking, but in the same way, create good contrast between the text and the background. A similar example with this one, change the color of the couch, change the color of the costumes, and for this one, and just to give you guys a little sneak peek behind what the process looks like from photography to swapping and going. I mean, I did say swap and go, but to be fair, a little bit of work went into making sure that these images were ready to be swapped, because like I said, we knew from the ground up that there were some things we were going to finish in Photoshop. So here I'm going to show you what the actual image looked like from set. So you can see that is my friend Nee standing in the background with the lights. We had these two lights lighting the images from the back, and then we had the girl on the couch. Now this is what the final version looked like. So you can tell that we actually changed the color of the sneaker. It was red before. We made the jeans or the pants a little bit more blue. We matched it with the hoodie from the jacket she was wearing, and then the AirPod Max that she had on. So this is what we had before, and this is what we had after. It's pretty simple. Then we cut out the entire space, shifted the couch all the way to the back, all the way to the right, because we're going to put text on the left, and then we added in the text later on as the image that you saw. So everything you see here is sort of different. We actually went ahead to change the color later to get the orange thing. And this is a similar process that went throughout most of the images. Now, this is not a video where I want to dive into all the Photoshop things that we did, but just to give you a snapshot of what the process looked like after the photography before we swapped with the AI stuff. So quite a little bit of work went in here. This is something we do every single day. It's not new to the process of making images for billboards and design and stuff like that. It's a pretty simple thing, and that's not the focus of this video. Now, these are some of the raw images that we generated from Midjourney at the time. And you can see we had these images. Again, the idea was not to go for realism. And to be fair, at the point, it was really hard to get realistic images out of AI like we can today. But they were good to go. They were enough to get people to understand what concepts we're looking for. And this is one of the things that I was talking about. Like at the time, the AI couldn't really nail the Black or the Ghanaian authenticity. It just felt very generalized and it didn't feel like Ghanaian enough. So we just sort of used these as representations to show the client what we wanted to achieve at the end of the day. And these were some of the other things that we used. And they helped because they did help us understand or get a vision of what the clothes would look like, what type of jewelry you would use, and what type of outfits and stuff like that. We did run it through our own filters because, of course, some of these jewelry is not native to Ghana. For instance, this necklace is really more native to Nigeria than it is to Ghana, and I did specify Ghana in the prompt. But then finally, when we use them in the mockup for the clients, this is how they look like, and this is what we sent to them for all the 5 billboards. And they really did like them. And for this one, we sort of swapped it out with this because there was a version that had a kid that didn't make the final cut. So this is the final version we sent the client. It was supposed to be in the backdrop. But later we realized that putting the market woman on the backdrop was not selling the effect that we wanted. So we ended up swapping it out to an actual background with a house. This is something we decided later, but not on the set. We communicated it with the client. They agreed with our thought process and we moved on from there. So this is an example with one of the other shoots from the Market Woman series, the one I was talking about earlier. We swapped it out. We went to a typical house of a very successful wholesale market person so we can get the actual feeling and aspiration that we are looking to create in the minds of our target audience. And this is what we have before. After the shoot, you can see all the soft boxes in there. And then we created a version where now everything is sort of cleaned out. You have a nice background and the woman in place. And sometimes you do realize that on set, you make certain decisions that can help you later. So we had a version with hair sitting down like this with the boxes, and then we had the version without the boxes. Just in case during the editing process, the box added more clutter than we intended. I'm sure you already guessed it. There's a ton of generative fill in these projects. Like every single one of them had a generative fill in one way or the other. From the images with a couch to the top-down shots of the girl lying upside down and all of these things, generative fill was a pretty interesting tool to use because most of the time when you're working on billboard projects, you're thinking of space for text, right? As a graphic designer and a photographer, you're sort of thinking with both in mind. So I always sort of shoot to get both spaces. But now there's a little problem, right? On set, you might end up going with a wide angle lens. And what the wide angle lens will give you space, but it will also shrink your subject. And that's something that I didn't want. I wanted the features of all my subjects or the models to be much clearer and pronounced. So I had to go with a zoom lens. But the issue with a zoom lens is you lose all the space. And that's where generative fill came in. I was able to get a shot with an 85, 100 mm, and I'll fill in the rest of the space with AI. That way, I'm able to get a subject looking very large, very pronounced, at the same time getting all the space in the sides and on the top and bottom. Now, this is a unique method that I just figured out because of how generative AI works and my understanding of how lenses work and design. So just sort of makes me proud to see all these 3 things triangulating and sort of coming together to give me the final results that I had. If I had gone for a much wider angle lens, it would not have been this interesting to look at. So finally, we are done. Everything is up in Photoshop. Design is done. Real images are placed in. Everything is looking fresh and dandy. So we showed the clients the final billboard and also gave them side-by-side comparison with the original AI billboards versus the final realistic ones that we had done. And it was pretty interesting because at this point, they already knew what to expect. So Very little feedback in terms of change that. Some of the things that did change was some of the copy that would change just a little bit because we felt it wasn't simple enough and stuff like that. But that was nothing that was crazy, right? From there, the only feedback they had was, when do we get the printed versions ready to go? The next stage of the process was now finding the right locations in the city where these billboards were going to be and stuff like that. Because it's a big city here in Accra, but that was not the part of the work we were handling. Our part was just to hand over the work and they would take it over from there. Just so, like, in summary, right? Somebody might ask, what exactly did you achieve here? I think I successfully killed that game of gambling when it comes to making projects that involve design and photography, especially for projects like Billboard. I was able to turn that anxiety into confidence. I was able to save a lot of time, save a lot of money, save my team a lot of sanity, and arguably, we ended up making better work. Because if you're in a market like Ghana where clients don't have huge budgets, a risk-free way to ideate and prototype is the best you can ask for, because you can experiment unlimitedly. Well, I mean, you do have credits to pay, so it's not really unlimited, but you get the point. Exploration is very cheap. We had a chance to test wild ideas safely. We executed them efficiently because the AI guided the whole process. But the sweet part is, the human beings added a finish, which is me and my team. And that made it really, really interesting. And that made it a very fun project. Now, here are some key takeaways that you can steal right now. This is what I'll say today with every workflow that you want to do. 1, start with deep strategy session, because I believe that AI best amplifies clarity, but not the chaos. So start with everything being clear. Now, the next thing was, replace all those mood boards with really high fidelity AI mockups. Show your clients the finish line first so they can buy in the vision. Next, use AI prototypes to guide the real production. After all, if you're on a tight budget, matching is much better than guessing. Think of creating storyboards, but this time they are screenshots of the finished movie before the movie even began. This is going to change everything, because at this rate, production becomes effortless when everybody has already seen the vision. And to answer the question, the very big question that I had in the beginning, is AI here to steal the jobs? In this project, the answer I came to realize is no. AI is not here to steal the jobs at all. If anything, somebody who uses AI may steal the jobs. And this was a super exciting project to do, and even more exciting now that I look back. If you like more of case studies like this and how I'm implementing AI in my daily workflow, no matter how big or small, because sometimes I feel like certain use cases are so obvious that I don't want to make a video about it, but then I show somebody and their minds are blown. So if you want to see more videos like this, just go ahead and subscribe or hit the thumbs up button, and I'll make sure to keep them coming your way. Once again, I'd like to officially wish you a happy new year.